The Mel Carmine Show begins in just 1 minute. Support the movement. Visit QFS1776.com for exclusive one-of-a-kind merch that makes a powerful statement. Protect your wealth. Cash is trash. Go to carminesgold.com and secure real assets, silver, gold, delivered anywhere in the U.S. Text Mel at 786-704-8817. Looking to acquire XRP? Minimum is $10,000 investment, and there is no limit, even up to $100 million worth. Again, text Mel with full details at 786-704-8817 and allow up to 24 hours for a response. And yes, text the same number to establish your religious irrevocable trust. Protect everything you built. You own nothing, but you control everything. And if by chance you're visiting Cape Canaveral or you are a local, visit stayingalive.com, alive with 2 E's, and recharge your body at the cellular level. The show with your host, Mel Carmine, starts right now.
Hello, everyone. Mel Carmine here. And today, I will pull back the curtain on Ripple, XRP, and whispers from the corridors of power. If you think crypto is only a story about markets and exchanges, buckle up today. We follow the paper trail, the boardroom moves, and the fringe prophecies that together feed one very simple narrative. A Ripple Washington convergence looks less like fantasy and more like a fait accompli. First, the facts you can't ignore. In the last several months, Ripple has moved like a company preparing to play in the big institutional sandbox. Strategic funding rounds and a wave of institutional partnerships that place Ripple and XRPL at the center of bank and asset tokenization pilots. Reuters and other outlets have reported major funding and institutional maneuvers tied to Ripple and Ripple-backed entities. These moves are the plumbing that would make a deeper relationship with government finance actors far easier to justify.
Now, you all know I'm a conspiracy factualist on steroids. It's not a single press release or handshake that makes a Treasury partnership inevitable. It's a constellation. Ripple raising institutional capital, Ripple-backed treasuries planning to accumulate XRP, global banks and asset managers experimenting with tokenized money market and stablecoin rails on XRPL. Put those together and an operational argument to fold Ripple Tech into official financial plumbing looks plausible to many people, especially those who interpret every regulatory olive branch as a signing ceremony in disguise. All indications point to the U.S. Treasury partnership with Ripple XRP is not just in line, but rather an inevitable strategic move. Let's talk numbers, because for conspiracies to land, you need arithmetic. That sounds impressive on camera. XRP's maximum supply is 100 billion tokens, and most public trackers report roughly to 60 billion XRP circulating today. The remainder sits in escrow. Use that circulating figure for these scenarios. As XRP operates under an entirely different set of rules than the broader cryptocurrency market, its potential cannot be measured by the same metrics that govern speculative tokens. XRP is not merely a digital asset, it is a high-velocity instrument of value transfer capable of moving capital across the world in the blink of an eye. And unlike traditional currencies that settle once and sit idle, the same XRP can be deployed repeatedly 15, 17, even 34 times within a single day. When an asset carries this degree of functional utility, the conversation inevitably returns to the most ancient law of economics: supply and demand. Should global demand for rapid settlement exceed the available supply, and it inevitably will, the price of XRP cannot remain modest. It must adjust dramatically upward, because mathematically, structurally, and operationally, it has no other choice. And consider this: if you are a major bank responsible for moving billions across borders, what would you prefer, transmitting value using millions of low-denomination units, or leveraging a far smaller number of high-value units that reduce friction, simplify accounting, and increase efficiency? Financial institutions will not merely prefer a higher-priced XRP, they will demand it. A larger denomination asset is not a luxury. It is a necessity for facilitating multi-billion-dollar flows with precision and speed. In a world where value moves faster each year, the market will ultimately reward the asset designed for maximum velocity, maximum utility, and maximum scalability. And that asset, unmatched in structure, speed, and repeatability, is not Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's XRP. So, how do the believers and the prophets square that gap? Two ways: tokenization and treasury accumulation theory, institutional push. Proponents argue Ripple will be the settlement backbone for massive tokenization of off-chain assets, money markets, global stock markets, ETFs, corporate treasuries. If trillions of dollars of value are issued as tokenized instruments and XRP becomes the settlement rail or institutional collateral, demand for on-chain XRP could spike dramatically. Recent moves by banks and asset managers to tokenize funds on XRPL are cited as early evidence. Again, this is the operational pathway conspiracists point to. Prophecy and influencer-style math culture, plus narrative. Religious prophets and crypto influencers, names like Brandon Biggs, often circulated as Prophet Brandon, and high-profile forecasters like Jake Claver have published or been quoted with jaw-dropping targets from $5,000, $10,000 up to six-figure claims. Those messages function as a cultural accelerant. They drive retail FOMO, viral narratives, and sometimes short-term volume spikes. But prophecies are narrative tools, not balance sheet mechanics. They matter psychologically. What would have to happen for a $100,000 XRP journey to be realistic in 6, 17, 34 months? Massive announced institutional treasuries convert large portions of reserves into XRP, not small pilots, but multi-trillion-dollar mandates. A redefinition of what circulating supply means. Escrow releases are permanently removed from secondary markets, and the effective circulating supply drops dramatically. Official adoption by a central authority or multiple sovereign treasuries to use XRP as an on-ramp, off-ramp for FX or tokenized asset settlement. That would be the single most credible route to enormous price action. Again, an official treasury announcement to this effect seems to be inevitable. A narrative feedback loop, prophecy plus influencer hype plus institutional FOMO plus retail mania that drives speculative demand far beyond fundamental usage. None of this is impossible in the chaotic world of crypto. Many pieces are moving in a direction that makes deeper institutional involvement highly likely. The claim that a U.S. Treasury partnership with Ripple is highly probable. With news bundled with many inside rumors pointing in this obvious direction, perhaps should be treated as something we all need to pay very close attention to. Reuters and mainstream outlets report large institutional funding rounds and tokenization pilots, which are the factual building blocks of the theory. Latest confirmed moves worth watching. Ripple raised major institutional funding and has access to new capital for institutional push. Evernorth, Ripple-backed, has signaled intentions to accumulate XRP and pursue a large public raise, positioning itself as an institutional XRP treasury. DBS Plus, Franklin Templeton reported a pilot to tokenize a money market fund on XRPL, a concrete example of banks leaning on XRPL rails for tokenized securities. In closing, is Ripple and the U.S. Treasury about to sign a pact and rewire the dollar? The rumor machine and insiders say yes. The reporters say watch this space. The math says not without extraordinary systemic changes. And the prophets and influencers say loudly, prepare for liftoff. Which voice wins? That's the bet you make when you place faith in narrative over balance sheets and mainstream propaganda, and that's the story we'll be watching every time a new Ripple press release or Treasury memo hits the wire. Is the Treasury quietly warming to Ripple, or is this the biggest financial fairy tale of our era? Please comment below and don't forget to subscribe to secure the bare minimum of $10,000 or more in XRP with no upper limit, I can also deliver $100 million and much more via our global brokerage firms. Serious buyers only, please. Text full details to 786-704-8817. This line is only for business. Allow 24 hours for a response. This podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice.